Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander. Nate is on the East Coast, and we're riding solo, recording separately today for you guys. Little schedule conflict, but we've still got best bets in this episode, a couple of sides and totals looks from both of us, as well as player props, which are up in a separate episode. And we're bringing both of those to you each and every day moving forward. So make sure you are subscribed to that channel and continue to follow along. It's Friday, which means we got the email newsletter coming out for thelines.com as well. Make sure you are checking out that. It's linked in the description of the video here. You can get access to that right in your inbox every Friday morning. And we're throwing a bunch of stuff in there, including Nate and mine's parlay. We have a same game parlay we're bringing you every single Friday. That is a bonus pick that is going to be behind that newsletter there. All free, but still in that newsletter. So go check it out there. 2-0. Got a nice look from the Cleveland and Memphis game for you today. So hopefully that cashes for you guys. Let's go ahead and jump right into Nate's best bet here for the night.
Yeah, let me get this Pacers game back to the opening spread, -9.5, and get you close to even money if you just take Halliburton to get 8 dimes with that. You can definitely play this up to 10 dimes, and then you're at like plus 150. Put a little sprinkle on each because you can keep this streak going of 7 straight with double-digit assists. Halliburton has 12.1 dimes in that span, 20 potential assists, is best in the NBA, 76 passes, only behind the Joker. So he is obviously back to his role as a true heliocentric spark plug for this Pacers offense. And you just can't expect to see any defense from the true tankers here. The Sixers won the tankathon last time out against the Raptors. Just an unbelievable job of finding injuries and arresting guys and just throwing out a team that almost has no chance to win. Definitely has no chance to play defense. They might even sit Justin Edwards and Andre Drummond in this one. So it'd be like, all right, we definitely have no rim protection. We definitely have no wing defender to deal with what Indy's throwing at us, which is a obviously pace and space game. Indy even gives up a lot of paint points, so maybe this game stays close enough for Hallie to be out there for 4 quarters. But if you worry about that, a little sprinkle on 4+ assists at plus 120 in the first quarter is another look. As just like the Pacers probably should get out and run here. I mean, he has 20 dimes his last 2 against the Sixers. He's missed a few. The last 3 meetings between these teams have been a 95 pace with some Embiid in there, with some slow Sixers, and these tanking Sixers in their last 3, 104.6 pace. In their last 7, 124 defensive rating. Obviously, some of the worst defensive metrics, particularly at the rim and above the break threes, wherever you want for Hallie to be able to dime up. So just love him to get around double-digit assists here, and the Pacers to cover at least 10. I mean, the spread's only -12, so we're not juking too much here on that.
I'm kicking things off here with my first play, Phoenix and Sacramento. I'm going over in a game that has bumped down a little bit from the opening total at 235.5. We still get it at 232.5. I'm going to take the over on that. I don't know about 235.5. That 3-4 points makes a difference because I do think this game ends at about 235, based on the numbers and the players that I have playing in this game. But if you look at these two teams, neither of them are playing defense. I'll tell you that. Now, the Kings have been a little bit better over their last 5, but in their last 10, they are 24th in defensive rating, and that is against the second easiest schedule in the league over their last 10 games. The Suns also playing easy competition in their last 10. Also dead last in defensive rating in their last 10 and are now 27th on the season in their D rating. And the pace has slowed down for both these teams for sure. There's no question that without like D Fox and Monk running everything for them, with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine running things, it goes a little bit slower. But their offensive rating in their last 10 is 4th best. And for Phoenix, they're 5th best, right? So these two offenses are humming along, both in the top 5 in effective field goal percentage in their last 10. Phoenix on defense, dead last in effective field goal percentage and limiting for their opponent, 23rd here for sack. So I'm expecting a lot of jump shots to go in. Both these teams are taking a lot of shots from the mid-range, above the break, and we're getting a lot of stuff going into the paint, especially for the Kings. They're currently 7th in paint frequency. So in their last 5, in the top 10 on the season, in the top 10 as well. So that hasn't really diminished for them, but the mid-range stuff is still up 7th best for them in terms of the field goal percentage, and they're shooting the highest frequency of mid-range on the season. This is all the Kings stuff, but it sounds a lot like the Phoenix stuff. This is sort of two Spider-Man meme teams staring at each other, no defense right now. all offense. And if you look at the effective field goal percentage for Phoenix, number 1 in the last 10, right? So both these teams in the top 5 and both outside the top 10, or in the bottom 10, I should say, in terms of limiting effective field goal percentage. This Kings team 23rd now on the season, and going to the rim should be something that if Phoenix wants to do it, which they aren't doing with a ton of frequency. Like I said, they're getting into the paint, but they're still making those shots from the extended paint or the mid-range a lot more than they are going all the way to the rim. But when they get to the rim, they have the best field goal percentage in the league. So they're going there the least amount, but they're the most efficient when they do go there. So I still think they're going to have a ton of success getting to the rim against Domas, Joval. It doesn't really matter who's playing center for this squad. And the other thing, last thing I would mention, both teams are much better in transition on offense than defense. Now, the Kings have been pretty good, a little bit better lately, getting back on defense. So we'll see, maybe the transition there and the coaching did sort of spark something for them to have better defense. But their teams are getting into the transition against the Kings with the highest frequency. So the Kings are trying to defend the transition. They're not terrible when you go into transition, but teams are getting out onto the break so much against them that they are giving up a good amount of fast break points. So I think points are going to be a little bit easier to come by in this game. We should see this total about 235 or higher when it ends.
Yeah, got to take another Spurs over here. We have had over in 7 straight for the Spurs team, and I think it's a little deflated, A, because De'Aaron Fox just officially shut it down for the season. Thought he was going to do that earlier. I don't know why he was risking his finger. And B, because it's the Charlotte Hornets, who have a reputation of just being very low-paced and very low scoring, but that's kind of changed. They've kind of moved back to the LaMelo Hornets of old, of the last couple of years, in terms of pace when they have the opportunity. Like, you look at their last game, 103 pace versus Atlanta, got over this despite their putrid offensive rating in that game, because Atlanta's actually pretty solid on defense. The Spurs are not. They I think have the worst defensive rating in the league post All-Star break. And without Wemby, now we're at a 122 defensive rating for the year. Pace has gone up as they try to account for that. Charlotte's been terrible protecting the rim because Mark Williams doesn't want to play for them anymore, and they don't really have a center. There's no Salon in this game. I guess we get a lot of Nurkic. So the Spurs, even without Fox, we should see Steph Castle, Vassell, Sohan, having success going to the rim here, getting that Spurs offense going. And on the other side, the Spurs defense has been a walking over, regardless of who they played. They played Dallas on a back-to-back when Dallas had 8 players, and that game got over 250. So if you're telling me Charlotte might not have the weapons, I'm not as concerned about that. I think LaMelo will be jacking threes here, spraying out to people. A Spurs team that allows the 3rd most corner threes in March here, and the Hornets are attempting the 6th most. So that's kind of their game plan, right? Is have Bridges and Ball create and have guys ready to spot up there in the corners. Also, these teams are pretty much bottom 5 protecting the rim. So that's always the key here when we're looking at overs in March, is who's not even contesting, putting you at the free throw line, who's just all right, let's just do a layup line and go the other way. And that's how it's been for the Spurs. They went over their first 3 this season without Wembanyama. Then there was a string of unders, which, I think the only weird ones were the back-to-backs against the Pelicans, where you're like, these are both over teams, and for some reason it got clunky. But the other ones, they made sense in terms of why they went under. And now, again, over in 7 straight, pull the plug on Fox. It's just, let's have fun the rest of the way, and let's get Steph Castle the Rookie of the Year. So I like putting his props in here as well. Maybe if you want to parlay it in any way, and expect LaMelo to have fun the other way. I mean, the Hornets just went over against the Wolves at a 93.6 pace. And this game, I think you can project to be played between 100 and 102 pace. So I definitely like over 230 as we at.
Last pick for me in the best bets here, going to go with Cleveland and Memphis. I'm going to take the Cavs to win this game here on the road. They're -2.5. They're 5-0 without Donovan Mitchell this season. So just want to start there. They are going to be without Donnie in this game. And if you look at the games without Donnie, everybody really steps up a ton. Everybody goes up. Nobody more probably than Evan Mobley in terms of just the biggest jump. He goes up to 37 points, rebounds, and assists combined in these games. And just as importantly, he's at about 27 points and assists combined. So he gets a lot more involved in the offense and touching the ball a lot more when Donovan Mitchell isn't out there. He seems to be the biggest beneficiary. At the same time, Jared Allen also goes up in points. The rebounds, we'll see for Jared Allen. But either way, the rebounds are going to be massive for Cleveland in this game. The last time they played here, earlier in February this year, they beat Memphis 129-123, expecting a bunch of points again from these two very fast-paced, over-heavy teams. So definitely don't want to go under. But I do think Memphis won't be able to necessarily keep up with Cleveland, who's been a lot better on defense. And if you look at that last game, Cleveland won that game despite only 27% from three, right? They barely made any threes, but they dominated the boards. They won by 20. They had a 20 rebound margin edge over the Grizz in this last game, and that led to 31 second chance points. Could see that happening again here. Memphis, after the All-Star break, since then, it's been about, 12 games now. They're second worst in terms of limiting three-point percentage to the opponent. Their rim defense has been much better, but their shots are getting sprayed out to the corners. They're getting a lot of passes that go back above the break after guys drive and then pass to the spot they just came from. So a lot of above the break stuff available against Memphis, a lot of stuff in the corners available against Memphis. And I think their rim defense is still going to struggle a bit, as you're going to see guys, it would struggle a ton if Donnie was out there. But even with DeAndre Hunter getting a few more minutes, he's someone who's been going to the basket a ton this season and getting out into transition a ton. And that's a big reason why I think the Cavs will win this game. They're so efficient when they get out into the break. And this Memphis team is hemorrhaging points in transition on the season. As far as Cleveland's defense goes, though, on the other side of the matchup there, they're number three limiting rim points. They're number 4 above the break 3-point shots percentage as well. That's what you're going to see here a ton. Memphis is get it and go, or attack the basket and kick back out to the top, or just go all the way to the rim. And this is a defense you don't want to have to score all your points against the rim in order to win, right? This is going to be one of the better rim defenses in the league with both Mobley and Allen available out there today. So I'm going to like the Cavs to win this one by 2.5. Love them as road dogs. Not sure if Jaren Jackson Jr. plays. If he does, as soon as he's ruled in, I'll probably take some plus money on the money line for the Cavs. I'm not worried about Triple J playing out there today. I still like the Cavs no matter what. And that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are subbed to that page. Make sure you do check out the description of the video for the link to the newsletter. Don't miss that bonus parlay pick from Nate and myself. Made more than 2.5 units so far on the season with those. So looking to keep the streak alive. And until we see you next, happy betting.